Yeah, okay. So my approach to the whole thing was sitting on the fact that at the instant when the Lamb opens the first seal, he immediately seizes the government of the government of the earth, or the government of the flow of things, in the earth. Because as soon as he begins to open seal after seal, the things that we see breaking out on the earth, whether they appear good or evil, whether they look bad or whether they they're good things by human judgment, actually are orchestrated from another realm. There's another power, that's influencing, that's pushing the earth, that's driving the earth. And the earth comes to an end only when the operations that are contained behind those seals, those trumpets, those vials, only when those things cease do we see that the end has come. So the opening of the seals initiates the finishing sequence. God begins to intervene in the activities of the earth and remotely control it. And so we see things that hit the earth. For example, when we see the description of those devils that are released from the bottomless pit or from the sea, or the angels that haunt the earth and the sea and all that, people die in tens of thousands, in hundreds of thousands, and all those things. A third part of the sea is destroyed. A third part of maybe trees are burnt and all that. We see calamity. We see a lot of those things. But the important thing is that it is orchestrated by somebody opening something in another realm, and that's what's happening in the earth. And so when I saw the magnitude of this, the global span, the amount of authority that this COVID thing, has been given, I knew that something of this apocalyptic proportion, has to find its deepest meaning, somewhere, in our movement towards the finish. And so that was where I began to look. So what really is this thing, and what is God saying? And then immediately, looking at what this thing looks like, what this COVID looks like, I find that his authority really is not to kill, because there are things that kill more on the earth right now than that. There are epidemics that came that did not even become pandemic, but they were very severe, and then they killed, with such ferocity. There are so deaths recorded, like on massive scales. This one, there's a lot of noise, so I know that it has a mouth. There's a lot of terror and all of that, and there's a power to disrupt. So I knew that it's a disruptive, it's a disruptive thing, and the disruptive force is a wind, that is appointed to cause a shift or to cause change, when it is done. The only concern is what kind of change would come after this, because Satan has an agenda, and then God has an agenda all the time. And so how do we ensure that it is God's agenda, that comes to pass? For example, in the book of Revelation, the Bible talks about a time when God releases plagues, and then it's part of his judgment. But the inhabitants of the earth, they get mad, at the things that are done, and then they curse God. Rather than understand that this is God giving them opportunity to repent, they misread that whole thing, and then they turn around and then they curse God. Okay, so on one hand, I knew that we need to respond correctly. Then another thing that continued to nag in my spirit was our response as a church. Because like I said in that video, the church, is the same response as the world, which is a knee-jerk reaction against pain, a knee-jerk reaction against maybe death and all that. Nobody wants to die. Nobody likes pain. And so whenever we see anything that has to do with pain or discomfort or death, men don't like change. And it's all of us that need the Pope, everybody, even you. We built inside of us somehow. We like rest. We like peace. We like to be in that place where we're undisturbed, and all of that. And I think the Father is like that. But until we get to the point where we can rest, then resting will not be okay, will not be an okay thing. Until we've arrived at perfection, then change has to be part of our constitution. So because the authority of this thing is to cause change and massive change for that matter. Everybody's writing God, let it stop, let it go, and make it stop and all that. And so I was asking is that the right way to look at it? Is that the right response? Is that the first correct response? because in the end, yes, we want it to stop because we don't like the dying. We don't even like one person dying. We don't like, what they're doing, the suffering, that's bringing to people who, for example, have to live daily. They have to sell something a day. They have to trade every day to get something to eat. Now, everywhere's on lockdown. There's going to be hunger for them. So we don't like that. But is that the most important thing to look at? And then I felt that, I believe that the Lord's communing with me and letting me know that our reaction, is not exactly as it should be. Like in the scripture I quoted, that it's not called a confederacy to everything that these people say a confederacy, and don't fear their fear. And it's a commandment to us. And that brings immediately the fact that we are Zion and we're not part of the world. When God was going to visit Pharaoh or Egypt the night before the Passover, this was what he told Moses to tell Pharaoh that he told Moses, he says, now I'm going to set a distinction between you and these people. So he called them these people. There's that demarcation. There's a time when he moves, to separate between his people and people that are not, his. And then later on, Pharaoh says they should go, and when they began to go, the Pharaoh rose up and went after them, and then the Bible says the angel of the Lord was ahead of them, leading them, as a pillar of cloud, removed from before them and went to the back. On one side, it became massive darkness, horrendous darkness to the Egyptians, and then on the other side, it became a pillar of fire to the Jews. And so the same principality, had two faces. Or the same principality was one thing to one person, to one set of people, another thing to another set of people. So I feel that this is like that too. It is supposed to be something else to us, and we must find what that is. And then if we know what that is, then we'll be comfortable in these times. And then I felt that part of what the Lord is saying to us, part of the opportunities for us, part of the word, I gave that in church, I think it was on Sunday, is coming to the ark. Genesis chapter 1 verse 7. For about over 120 years, or over 100 years, Noah was building this ark. And then the time came when the judgment came. And in Genesis 7, God says, now enter into the ark. So we've been building, or hopefully we've been building a dimension of life. We've been speaking things, we've been downloading kingdom realities and all that. Now is the time to enter into that ark. Now is the time to abide safely in what we've been building. And then if we have not been building, then woe betide us. And that's why I find a lot of people in the church, they haven't been building anything. They've not been building a faith. They've not been building a life. There's no hope. There's no confidence. There's nothing else that they can run into to anchor their soul. And so there's a lot of the church is frazzled. Their confusion. The only hope is let this thing stop. But that's the hope of the world. That's the hope of the world. Lord's hope was not let this rain go. He knew what to keep it from the rain. There's a word crying, let this rain stop and all of that. But as for Noah, it's safe inside of the ark. So I believe that this also is a wake up call for the church. We're having to look at our foundations. It's like the wind has blown and our skirts have been uncovered. And we see that many of the people in church, they don't have faith. They don't know what their hope is. We have a lot of children, a lot of babies, the things that we thought were established in, we were not at all. And this has revealed, what we've been building. So I think it's another opportunity for the church also, to begin to look at what we've built, look at our foundations, and then build right. And then for the Zion church, it is time to rejoice. Because when Babylon is judged, the Bible says in Revelation 18, it says that the merchants immediately begin to weep. The merchants begin to cry, the wail. They say in 1 hour, all this massive institution has been shut down. Like God wonderfully, like it's happening right now. Who would know that the world can shut down like this? Financial markets will crash, kings will be humbled, and industries, tourism, banking, airline, everything will shut down. But this is what it is like when God shuts down Babylon. Then the world will weep. But at the same time, it says in verse 17, rejoice, only holy apostles and prophets, because God has avenged her. So some people will be weeping, and some people will be rejoicing. And so it has to be a distinction, a demarcation between the way we respond to this and God responds to that. And for those who are prophetic people, those apostolic, because it's holy apostles and prophets. They've been building, hopefully accurately. It's time for joy for us. Okay, so where are the opportunities? we are the new opportunities for the church. What are we supposed to be doing? How are we supposed to rise up in terms of bringing glory to God? And then personally, also I'm thinking personally, how will I gain by the time this thing is done? And that's just me. Generally, it's for the glory of God. So saying, so how does God get more glory from this? How does Zion gain? And all of those things. So those are things we're looking at. Those are things we're praying into. I see new levels of evangelism initiative breaking out. As people start more tender towards God now to honor Him, or to even recognize that there's a God. Atheists and pagan nations are beginning to, like, they come to the end of themselves. The strengths are broken, so they're looking towards heaven or looking towards the sky, like the Italian Prime Minister would say. The Italian President said, whatever is up there, that's what we need now. We've come to our wit's end. God, the kings, they've come to the end of their creativity. They too are broken emotionally. And I was thinking about this corona thing just this morning, okay, maybe perhaps last night. They call it corona because under the microscope, it looks like something wearing a crown. And so I was thinking that the nature of this thing is it's kingly. And I see how it's humbling kings. How many kings have been affected? This thing don't know peasants. It doesn't know king apart. It doesn't know noble. It doesn't respect. Especially how many of these prime ministers are the heads of states and highly praised individuals, people who are kings, even if they're not political kings, but kings in industries and all that, have been lashed by this thing. He just equalizes and humbles everybody. And it's just amazing. But the thing is, I believe that it's not for the people of God. And we're not supposed to fear their fear. Scripture says in Isaiah, sanctify the Lord God in your heart. Let Him be your dread and let Him be your fear. So it's the only God should be our fear and our dread in this hour. So these are some of my thoughts here. I was still looking to see how God will position us to gain, to profit more, from this. But I think that our reaction should be different because our definitions of it, totally different from how it was.